What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive into our first news. Ciryl Gane is preparing for one of the biggest opportunities of his career as he gets ready to challenge Tom Aspinall for the UFC heavyweight title at UFC 321 next month. In the lead up to the fight, Gane reflected on his past setbacks against Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou, and he also opened up about whether he felt frustrated with the way the division has been stalled during Jon's absence from the octagon. Gane admitted that dealing with the build-up to those fights was not easy. He recalled how heavy the atmosphere was before his clash with Francis. The media attention, the press conferences, the constant spotlight, everything combined to create a pressure that wasn't simple to handle. Facing Francis, who was the reigning champion at the time, carried enormous weight. Gane explained that the experience taught him the importance of being mentally prepared for the chaos that comes with a huge title fight. He described it as an exercise, one that forced him to grow stronger and learn how to handle the overwhelming circumstances. When he spoke about his fight with Jon Jones, Gane admitted that the build-up felt different. The emotions were there, but the pressure didn't feel as heavy as it did against Francis. He suggested that the fight with Jon felt somewhat easier in terms of the outside noise, but both losses shaped him in important ways. For Gane, those setbacks were not simply defeats, but lessons that he believes will help him in his upcoming title bout against Aspinall. He knows emotions will run high again when he steps into the cage, but this time he feels more prepared to channel them in the right direction. Addressing the state of the heavyweight division over the past couple of years, Gane admitted that it did feel like things were on hold. With Jon Jones sidelined, the division lacked clarity and momentum. Still, he insisted he wasn't personally frustrated. Gane explained that he's no stranger to long waits, pointing out that he already endured a year away from fighting during the COVID pandemic when events were cancelled. He said the key during those stretches was staying professional, keeping his focus, and continuing to train in the gym with his team while trusting the UFC to eventually provide the right opportunities. Gane made it clear that he never allowed himself to lose motivation despite the delays. He stayed disciplined and continued to build his skills, always keeping in mind that patience was necessary in this sport. Now with the heavyweight division moving forward again and the fight against Aspinall locked in, he feels confident that the timing is finally right. Looking back on his losses to Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou, Gane acknowledged the challenges and the emotions, but he also embraced the growth that came from those moments. With that experience behind him, he enters UFC 321 with a renewed sense of determination, ready to prove himself once again at the very top of the heavyweight division. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We are constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support. That is why we truly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on MMA Pulse News. Moving on to another news, Daniel Cormier got brutally honest when reflecting on the MMA career of his longtime teammate and close friend Cain Velasquez. Cormier explained that if it weren't for the injuries that plagued Velasquez throughout his prime years, the former UFC heavyweight champion could have been regarded as the single greatest heavyweight of all time. Velasquez officially retired from mixed martial arts back in late 2019, but his career was overshadowed by constant setbacks, from shoulder issues to knee injuries and severe back problems that never really allowed him to enjoy a consistent run at the top. Speaking with Aljamain Sterling on his podcast, Cormier opened up about just how talented Velasquez truly was during his rise at American Kickboxing Academy. He said Cain had the work ethic, the training discipline, and the skill set that separated him from everyone else. In Cormier's words, he has never seen anything like it, not back then and not even now. The sheer ability Velasquez possessed made him a complete fighter who could mix his striking, wrestling, and conditioning seamlessly. According to Cormier, if Cain's body had held up over the years, there wouldn't have been a single heavyweight capable of stopping him. He firmly believes no one would have beaten Velasquez if injuries hadn't derailed his career. Cormier recalled the early days when Velasquez was just coming up in the sport. He remembered how Cain had very little growing up, and because of that, whenever coaches or trainers asked him to do something, he never questioned it. He simply did it. If the strength coach told him to leg press 800 pounds, he would do it without hesitation, even though it pushed his body to extremes. That mentality of never holding back and constantly pushing himself was what made Velasquez such a monster inside the gym. But it was also part of what led him into injury after injury, as he would never stop working, never stop grinding, and never give his body the proper rest it needed. Cormier described his teammate as someone who had absolutely everything it took to dominate for years. The training, the mindset, the willingness to do whatever was asked of him, all of it contributed to the fighter that fans saw in the octagon. Unfortunately, it also contributed to the breakdown of his body. Despite the accolades Velasquez achieved, including capturing the UFC heavyweight championship, his career will always be remembered as one of the biggest what-if stories in MMA. If his health had stayed intact, his name might have stood alone at the top of the heavyweight division, untouchable and unquestioned. For Cormier, there's no doubt in his mind that Cain Velasquez could have been the absolute best. To this day, he insists he hasn't seen anyone train like him or push themselves the way Velasquez did. The talent, the drive, and the raw ability were unmatched. But with constant injuries cutting short his prime, fans never got to witness the full potential of one of the most feared heavyweights in UFC history. Moving on to another news, Ronda Rousey has once again found her passion for MMA, and it looks like she's taking training more seriously than she has in years. The former UFC women's bantamweight champion hasn't stepped inside the octagon since her devastating 48-second knockout loss to Amanda Nunes back at UFC 207 in December of 2016. After that, she shifted her focus to life outside of fighting, spending years away from MMA while building a new path. She had a successful stint with WWE, became a mother to 2 children, wrote books, and explored several other ventures. Now at 38 years old, Rousey appears to be reigniting that fire she once had for the sport. During a recent appearance on the Lapsed Fan podcast, she admitted that while she isn't interested in competing at the much-discussed UFC White House event rumored to take place in June, she hasn't completely ruled out the idea of fighting again in the future. She used the phrase "never say never," leaving the door cracked open just slightly for the possibility of a return to competition. What really grabbed fans' attention, though, were the training clips she recently posted on social media. These clips highlighted not only her progress, but also her renewed sense of motivation. She captioned the post with a very personal message, saying, "From 8 weeks after having a baby and 8 years of stepping away from MMA to 8 months postpartum and finding my love for it again. The first clip is my first session working with AJ MMA. I was super self-conscious, embarrassed of how much I regressed, and honestly trying my very best not to pee my pants throwing punches so soon after having a baby." Second clip was yesterday. "I've never laughed or smiled so much on the mat as I do these days. The last 6 months have been an absolute blast. Feels like I have so much left to grow, and without the weight of the world on my shoulders, nothing is holding me back. What we learn with pleasure, we never forget." Alfred Mercier. Her words resonated with many fans who followed her journey, not just as a fighter, but also as someone who carried the weight of being the first true star of women's MMA. The clips showed her working hard in the gym, moving with intent, and showing flashes of the determination that once made her the most dominant woman in the sport. Trainers in the background could be heard instructing her to keep her head movement sharp, reminding her to turn her chest and point the right way before throwing hooks, and encouraging her with constant feedback. The sound of the training environment mixed with her energy painted the picture of someone who isn't just casually hitting pads for the sake of nostalgia. This is Ronda Rousey putting in meaningful work, rediscovering the joy of training, and showing that even years after stepping away, the fire can still burn bright. With a lighter mindset and no expectations weighing her down, she seems freer than ever before, smiling through training sessions and showing glimpses of the old champion who once ruled the sport. Moving on to another news, Borralho recently delivered a heartfelt and motivational speech to his teammates in the group known as the Fighting Nerds after all 4 members had gone through their first UFC losses. It was a tough stretch for the team, but Borralho reminded everyone that setbacks are part of the journey and that the way they respond would define their future. Carlos Proes was the first to experience defeat, dropping a unanimous decision to Ian Gary. The loss stung, but Proes quickly showed his resilience by coming back in spectacular fashion. He scored a knockout win over Jeff Neal with a devastating spinning back elbow, proving that one defeat doesn't dictate a career. Mauricio Ruffi also endured a difficult night when he was submitted by Benoist Saint Denis, a loss that forced him to reflect on his grappling and overall game. Then came Borralho himself, who suffered a unanimous decision loss to Nazartini Mavel. For someone who is looked at as a leader within the Fighting Nerds, it was a humbling moment, but also an opportunity to set the right example for his team. Lastly, John Silva was stopped by Diego Lopes via TKO, another hard blow for the group. With all 4 fighters tasting defeat for the first time, the mood in the team could have shifted to doubt, but that's when Borralho stepped up. He gathered his teammates and reminded them that losses are not the end, but instead valuable lessons. He spoke with passion, telling them that every fighter who has reached greatness has walked through the fire of defeat. What matters most is not that they lost, but how they rise after those losses. His words carried weight because he too had just gone through the same experience. Borralho urged his teammates to stay motivated, to push harder in training, and to never forget why they started this journey. He told them that they were a family, bound together by more than just fighting, and that their setbacks only made their bond stronger. He reminded them of the importance of growth, of turning every tough moment into fuel to get better. His message was that champions are not defined by an undefeated record, but by their ability to bounce back when things go wrong. For the Fighting Nerds, this speech was exactly what they needed. Instead of allowing their first losses to define them, Borralho made sure they would use those moments as stepping stones to come back even stronger inside the octagon. Moving on to another news, Diego Lopes has made it clear that he is more than willing to step up and face Charles Oliveira on short notice at UFC Rio. As of now, Oliveira is left without an opponent after Raphael Fiziev was forced to withdraw from their scheduled fight due to injury. With the event quickly approaching, the UFC is scrambling to find a replacement, and Lopes has raised his hand without hesitation. When asked about the possibility of taking on the former lightweight champion, Lopes responded with complete confidence. He said that of course he would accept such a fight, especially because Oliveira is a legend of the sport. For Lopes, the chance to share the octagon with someone of Oliveira's stature is not just an opportunity, it's an honor. He explained that he has always carried the mindset of never turning down a fight, no matter the circumstances. If the UFC calls him and believes he's the right man to step in, then his answer will always be yes, without even thinking twice. Lopes emphasized that he's not the type of fighter who hesitates or looks for excuses. He's built his career on being ready whenever the opportunity presents itself, and this situation is no different. Facing a fighter like Oliveira on short notice is no easy task, but Lopes seems unfazed. Instead of focusing on the risk, he sees the reward, knowing that a strong performance against such a respected name could elevate his career to an entirely new level. For Oliveira, this situation has been frustrating, as he had been preparing for a return in front of his home fans in Brazil. Losing his opponent so close to the event left him in the UFC in a difficult position. But with Lopes stepping forward, the promotion may have a solution that not only saves the fight, but also excites fans who admire fighters willing to take chances. The respect between the two fighters is also notable. Lopes acknowledged Oliveira's legendary status multiple times, making it clear that this isn't just about stepping in to fight anyone, it's about testing himself against one of the best to ever compete in the lightweight division. That level of admiration shows the significance of the challenge, but it also highlights Lopes' confidence in his own skills. As UFC Rio approaches, the question of who will face Oliveira remains, but Diego Lopes has already made his intentions known. He is ready, willing, and eager to take on the challenge without hesitation, proving once again that he's a fighter who lives by the code of never turning down a fight. Moving on to another news, BKFC president David Feldman shared his thoughts on Conor's highly anticipated return to the UFC and how that could potentially shape his future in bare-knuckle fighting. Speaking with MMAfighting.com, Feldman explained that everything about this comeback feels different, and in his opinion, this is the most focused and prepared version of Conor he has ever seen. He made it clear that unless something completely unexpected happens, Conor is locked in on making his return fight happen. Feldman revealed that over the past 2 years, he has gotten to know Conor on a deeper level, and during that time, he has been impressed with how serious and determined he is about training. He emphasized that Conor is not just talking about coming back, he is putting in the work, doing everything that a fighter at this stage of their career should be doing. According to Feldman, Conor has had conversations with him where he expressed his commitment to the sport, and Feldman reminded him that he remains one of the biggest legends to ever step into combat sports. For Feldman, the key will be Conor maintaining his focus all the way through to the July 4th card next year, which is being hyped as one of the most historic events in UFC history. Feldman went on to say that the outcome of Conor's fight on the White House card will play a major role in determining whether or not he eventually fights in BKFC. He believes that no matter who Conor is matched up against, the UFC will ensure it's a fight that makes sense at this point in his career. They won't throw him against a young, hungry prospect that might not be the right stylistic matchup. Instead, it will be someone competitive, someone who gives fans a good fight while still giving Conor the chance to shine. If Conor wins and looks good doing it, Feldman is certain that he will continue fighting beyond that event, and from there, the path to BKFC opens up wide. Feldman said with absolute confidence that if Conor secures that victory, he would bet 100% that Conor will eventually step into a BKFC ring. From a business standpoint, Feldman described it as a no-brainer. Having Conor fight for BKFC would instantly double or even triple the company's value, attracting massive investor interest and creating a financial windfall for everyone involved. He explained that Conor wouldn't just benefit from the fight purse itself, but also from the larger financial impact that his presence would bring to the organization. Feldman stressed that it's way more than Conor could make fighting anywhere else, given how much the company's evaluation would skyrocket with him involved. For Feldman, the situation is a win-win for everyone, but before any of that can happen, Conor needs to handle his business inside the UFC. Despite all the speculation, Feldman circled back to highlight one more time that he has never seen Conor this locked in and this determined. The discipline, the training, and the mindset are all aligned in a way that convinces Feldman the Irish superstar is ready to remind the world why he became the global face of the fight game in the first place. Moving on to another news, things got heated and downright strange online when Paulo Costa, Darren Till, and the MMA Guru went back and forth in a wild exchange that all began with something as random as a video game invite. The MMA Guru had jumped on Twitter with a playful message calling out several fighters, including Costa and Till, to join him for a Call of Duty Black Ops 2 Zombies session. He promised that if they did it, the video would pull in over 400k views, and he even joked about how Moano would probably complain about not wanting to buy the first door in the game. Costa wasted no time responding, and as expected, he didn't hold back. Instead of taking the invite seriously, he fired off with a jab of his own. Costa wrote, "Someone knows what this fatty mother is talking about. If you want to invite me to something, invite me to a pool party full of thick Latinas." Otherwise, leave me alone. It was classic Paulo Costa, brushing off the invite with humor, but at the same time throwing a sharp dig in the process. That's when Darren Till jumped into the mix, and things escalated quickly. Till aimed directly at the MMA Guru, saying, "Who's getting real tired of that fat, smelly MMA Guru? Like, I'm tired of him now. Yeah, we know you speak your mind, but you're fat and you're definitely smelly. What's your comeback, mate? Mate, keep your mouth shut cause you get strangled in the street." Till doubled down by adding that Guru just annoys him at this point, and that he should stop chatting altogether. Of course, Guru wasn't about to let that go unanswered. He fired back at Till with his own harsh insults, writing that Till looks like a bloated man found drowned at the bottom of a river with rocks in his pockets, taking a jab at his appearance while also suggesting that Till has had other kinds of rocks in his pockets. Guru didn't stop there, adding that it's no wonder Till's nose looks so messed up, and mocking him by saying he should go back to calling out influencers and aging fighters. Till shot back again, asking if Guru was calling him a head like Luke. Guru immediately responded, mocking him once more, saying, "Holy, you figured that out all by yourself. For that kind of IQ, they should have a statue of you in Liverpool with knives hanging out of it. You'd look like a Down syndrome pop-up pirate." What started as a simple gaming invite spiraled into a bitter and personal online feud, with Costa delivering his trademark humor and Till going all in on insults. Meanwhile, Guru returned fire with his signature sarcasm and biting wit, turning the whole exchange into one of the strangest and most chaotic back and forths in recent MMA internet drama. That's it from MMA Pulse News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.